Evening, and today I'm going to be doing some porting, basically on the turbo, on the head, on the manifolds. Basically I want to see what improvements I can make for free just by using the die grinder and various bits and pieces, just to improve flow and improve power and improve performance without spending any money. To use a term that the guy for Faster Proms always says, it's getting the low-hanging fruit, as in the easy gains. I'm not gonna like spend fucking weeks making it like the best porting job in the world. I'm not gonna bullshit you like that. It's about getting the most for your money. And if I can make, well, I know I can make big changes in a few hours work for all of it. You know, the header take the longest, the turbo shouldn't take too long, the manifold's not long, but I know I can make big differences. I'll show you in a second what I'm going to do, and I'll start with the turbo and then manifolds, head, whatever order, you'll see. Well, I'll explain what I'm doing as I go along. I'm going to whack this thing on a head cam so you can watch me as I do it. So let's get cracking. This is the turbo in question, straight off the Volvo. It's an eBay special T3 TO4E thing, Garrett rip-off basically. These are like barely over £100 if I remember rightly, brand new on eBay, but they're not that shit. They seem to last really well. They make quite good power. They spool quite well. They're flawed, which I'm about to show you, but it can be fixed. And weirdly, these are very, very similar to partly to the standard turbos that early Volvo turbos ran, and especially to the Volvo 240 Group A rally car, Group A touring cars. Their Evo version, sort of their equivalent of the RS500 Cosworth, ran a mega similar turbo to this. The only real difference is this has actually got a little bit better flowing wheels, bigger and better flowing wheels. So I'll show you the basics. Turbo wheel, typical Garrett design. I think it's 65, yeah. So that turbo wheel, I mean, it looks not a bad design to be fair. What's it? 12 blade, 65/55. That's the same dimensions, if I remember rightly, as a wholeset HX35. So it's plenty of flow. I wouldn't say it's as good a design as the wholeset one, because wholeset wheels tend to be really, really good, but you know, it's not small. Compressor side, it's 53 by 75 we call it, which again is a fair size. I mean, on a modern turbo, I mean, even on something like wholeset HX35, that's like 500 brake at a push. This is definitely an older style wheel because it's got a thicker bore. The actual flow area, the size of the blades, is nowhere near as big as it could be because the bore's so much bigger and the way it tapers out near the bottom. But it's still a 400 plus horsepower turbo. It's not bad. I mean, it's just a Chinese copy of a, you know, 80s spec Garrett T3-4, you know, TO4E compressor, blah blah blah. Same as on millions of turbos worldwide. You know, loads of aftermarket companies basically ran this basic thing with different brands. This just happens to be a Chinese one. Nothing special, but it's got no plane, no damage. It's taking the abuse really well. On to improvements. Well, there's not a massive amount on the compressor side. I probably will smooth off this outlet a bit because it's a bit rough, but again, that's very minor gains, so I'll only spend a couple of minutes doing that. The inlet, one thing I'm definitely going to do is remove this lip, sort of to smooth it down to nothing, because that's quite a big lip for the airflow coming in to hit. And I know from previous experience that makes a surprising difference. And what I might do, but I don't think it's massive gains, but if I can do it quickly I will, is the compressor inducer sits a few mil down there. So potentially I can smooth this, so rather than being such a sharp angle, it's a bit shallower, which again would improve flow. But that is very minor because it's already a, you know, it's not like it's hitting a wall like this. But I'll probably do it anyway just because it's simple. Yeah, the turbine side is the biggest thing. This style is usually called a Ford 5-bolt turbine. Basically, the reason why, it's got 5 bolts, and a lot of 80s Fords in America, the 2.3 turbos especially, ran this style of turbinizing. It's not really a Ford thing, because the Volvos also ran this same 5-bolt outlet housing like this with the 2 parts and so on. But it's not a Ford thing as such, it's just they were most commonly known in America because the Fords ran it like this. But this is where the biggest gains can be. First up, my one boost creeps like fuck. So if I can enlarge the wastegate, which I can, then that will help that a lot. So you're talking a 22mm hole currently, but the wastegate penny itself is say 32. So there's a 5mm all round, so 10mm in total between that and that. Obviously I can't take it out the full 10mm, otherwise it won't seal, but it still gives me quite an area I can enlarge it to get close. You know, a couple of mil is probably bang on. Next thing, the main thing, is if you remember the turbine exducer diameter was like 55mm, and this should be there or thereabouts that as well. No, it's, yeah, it was 55, yeah. This should be slightly larger, yeah, it's about 56, 57. But obviously this is a 2.5-inch V-band, and yeah, that's 60 something, which is not huge, but it's okay. But here it's only 55, but it could be nearly 65, and that's all the way through there. So that's a bit shit for flow. Obviously what you want post turbine wheel is as little back pressure and as maximum flow as possible. Basically the spool and the flow and everything is dictated by the difference in pre and post turbine wheel pressure. So if you can minimize post, it improves everything, the engine and spool performance, engine and turbo performance realistically, just for doing that. So this needs enlarging. It's still not going to be brilliant because it's only going to be a 2.5-inch hole, but currently it's, you know, it's 55mm tops, and 55mm is barely over 2 inches, so that can be improved a fair bit. Flow all around here can be improved somewhat. All of this can be sort of radiused a bit, because obviously it's not touching anything there, so all of this can be, you know, radiused out a bit to make the flow better. This is, again, this is much thicker than this, so the exhaust gas is coming out of here and hitting all along here. It's basically a bit shit. I'll have to check, but I might be able to change this a little to improve either how much the wastegate opens, or at least the flow around it, by de-shrouding it a bit. I'll have to check. I won't be running a gasket on it, but I can't obviously go paper thin. But there is, especially this bit, slightly this bit, but mostly this can be improved hugely. This is literally making the most of a cheap turbo quickly and easily. It's that low-hanging fruit thing. I'm not going to spend money, you know, if I was going to spend money, I'm just going to change the turbo. But you can improve this one a lot It's not going to be the best turbo in the world, but it's going to be a fuck sight better than it is, and for no extra money. So let's get cracking. What I'm doing now is, although I've not finished outlet, I've got bored of that, so I'm going to go back to it in a minute, is porting the wastegate hole as big as I can. And what I've been doing to try and work out, because the thing is, this wastegate hole isn't centered on this, far from it in fact. It's all kind of this way. So I've actually sprayed some paint and then refitted it so I could work out the real outline of where the gate is. And although it's pretty much on the edge of the standard wastegate hole there is shitloads here. So do a quick visual. Still take off a bit more. So put a couple of bolts in to line it up, to work it out, because you don't want to make them, don't want to fuck it up, go too far. Especially when there's obviously a little bit of wiggle room in things like this. So you don't want to go too far and then mount this slightly off so it's a bit much. I reckon a little bit more there. I don't want to go too close because of the wiggle room. Yeah, a little bit more, and then smoothing it internally so it's better flow from the main turbine inlet path to the wastegate itself. I said about the short side, I did realise it'd be so good a little bit, and I have absolutely massively improved that, so I'm going to do a bit more. I think that itself, I can do it there as well, and probably there, is going to improve things more than enlarging the gate. Honestly, this is fucking massive. There's a lot of shit to get rid of there. You can probably see it, I hope. I don't know how good the light is from the camera, but by my eyes you can see, whereas it once was a straight drilled hole, there's now a, you know, centimetre or so where it's closer. So I'm going to keep going. So there's a question of how long you're going to bother keep going, but I don't want boost creep, so I might as well go to the maximum. Hopefully you can see from this view, that is a whole shitload better than it was. I might, from this angle, be able to do a bit more there, but generally, that's fucking mint. I can stick my thumb in it now, couldn't before. Yeah, that's decent, I think. Almost wish I could get rid of that slight lip there, but I don't think it's possible. My reason for that is I don't want exhaust gas coming in and always going this way. I want it to still be smooth into the turbine. So if I could make that smoother, I will. Bit tricky though. I've got long reach ones of these, but I don't know where they are. Let's have a feel. I would like to get rid of that corner there. That is near as damn it, not the most perfectly round, but 30 all round. This is 32 diameter, so I'd say this is a safe bet with no leaks. I'll just now make it as smooth as possible, because 30 is obviously at the edge. It does feel like it still goes in a little bit at points. Right, I think I better stop now. Any more is fucking ridiculous. There's no way that's going to creep. No way. I'll tidy it up after, but yeah. Right. Might as well do this turbo and inlet flange as well. I don't think there's much improvements to be made there. Where's my fucking gasket? Yeah, I just need to port match it. Height wise, I think is pretty much bang on. Just add a bit of width. I'm not going to enlarge it all the way in. I just want to get rid of any lip so the exhaust gas never hits a flat surface, basically. Because the gas is flowing out, too big is better than too small. So it don't matter if I went slightly over, but things have to get bigger on the way out. Well, just as the flow goes forwards, it needs to keep going bigger, or at least a smooth reduction, because that's where the flat surfaces are bad. So going into here, it needs to be at least as big as the previous area. I'm just going to go off the gasket because I'm not sure of the previous area yet, but the gasket is technically a maximum, so just a little bit more on this side really. Yeah, I don't need to port far because obviously it necks in anyway. I just need to get rid of any flat surfaces. Obviously you've got to account for the fact that this could move around a bit. So I'm going to take a bit more off there and a bit more along the edge. It wouldn't matter if it was bigger, because if anything, in theory, it would be better to be bigger, because any lip, opposite way lip, would out reduce reversion, but in reality that's neither here nor there. But that's pretty fucking good. I can't get any better than that, and it's no more lip. It just, I might smooth off further in there, so it's more gradual. Better off checking it from all gasket angles in case this doesn't match one way to the other. I'll tell you what, I'm going to get a little bit more off there. Fuck it, that's really good turbo and inlet flow. That's ridiculously good flow out of there. I don't think that needs improving. Actually, let's check where the turbine wheel sits there. Because if it sits way in, and it probably doesn't, then it's worth modifying that a bit. Let's give this a good clean before it goes back together, because it's full of fucking metal. I could technically take that back a bit as well. Let me mark it with a pen, if I can find my pen. Fuck is my pen? Okay, I'll mark it with... Actually, you can see it's made a mark there. See the line where the turbine wheel goes to, so I could make it a little bit bigger straight away. Let's see how easy that is. Looks like I've broke through into something there. Ah, fuck. What's that broke through into then? Is it just a hole in the casting? Because that's... Alright, nothing. Shows how pretty shit these Chinese castings are. That's just an air bubble. Because obviously there's nothing anywhere near that bit. It's all solid. This bit doesn't go in. There's a fucking hole. Not very big by the looks of it. There's an air bubble. Doesn't matter because it's post turbine wheel. So it makes no odds. But I got scared then because I was worried it was going to break all the way fucking through. Might seem insane doing this much work to make like a Chinese turbo flow as perfect as it can, but it's free. All this is taking is my time. Not that much time either. But yeah, you can see, hopefully, just from this, it's now a nice radiused outlet rather than, well, the fucking step it was before, which, and it's, the radius starts sooner, closer to the turbine wheel extruder, whereas it used to be there. Now it's at the edge of the turbine wheel, which is what you want for flow. So yeah, good times. It's mostly this now, it needs finishing. I've took a load out of it, but there's still a lot left. It's just boring. Potentially I could take a bit out of that as well to help it open a bit more. I know where, because I just made a dent. Definitely helping. I'm a bit worried how close I can go without making a big hole. I don't want to, so I'm going to take a little bit more, but not much. It's only going to improve it a tiny bit, but for the sake of a couple of minutes, that'll do. I'm a bit dubious about going any further because I don't know, I can't really tell by eye the difference in thickness there. It's not much, so I better leave it there. But that has helped by a few mil. I say I'm going to leave it, but I'm not. This might seem ridiculous overkill, but it's not, because I know of a couple of Borg Warner turbos which are like this as standard. They got a backing plate and it's got a fucking dent in it to allow the wastegate to sort of sit back more, and they still suffer from creep. So aftermarket conversions of them, they're popular on diesels in America. They use a spacer, because it's like a back plate, to space it out even more to allow the wastegate to open further. Realistically though, I'm a bit scared about going anymore, but I want to. Nice little bowl. Yeah, that'll do, because now the wastegate flap's now able to touch the housing, and I think any more than that is just taking the piss, so that'll do. So yeah, wastegate can now open to its maximum. That's quite a lot more actually, bloody hell. Surprised it's that much. Happy days. Right, need to carry on modifying this now. Again, I'm going to put this on. I don't think I'll use the paint, but this can be slightly enlarged by the feels of it. There's not like any real flat lips apart from there, but it's smaller. And like I said, as long as it goes bigger, it doesn't matter if it's too big. Yeah, this bit as well, I'm enlarging, because obviously you got the wastegate flow out of there, so the less it can just fucking collide with this flat bit, the better. So I'm gonna just edge this in the best I can. You couldn't do a perfect job without removing that, and no fucking way. So I'm just gonna cut as much away as I can, rather than a flat bump. It's now, obviously I can't go much closer because I'm beating that, but smooth. Well, I'm happy with that, very happy actually. Wildly different to how it was. Obviously I'm going to smooth all this shit off, but it's a whole different thing now. So yeah, that alone should probably, I say probably because I don't know, significantly help. It's always a thing where I could carry on going forever, but that's enough, realistically. Right, compressorizer next. I've already kind of explained what I'm doing, but I'm going to turn this flat lip into a smooth, not totally knife edge, because obviously the edge would then be too brittle, but a smooth curved off edge, because the flat surface thing I found on a previous car, my Cosy MX-5 actually, where I ported the housing, and I did it really roughly in about, I don't know, 10 minutes, and the difference it made to spool up is fucking ridiculous, just by getting rid of the lip. I think the lip on that was bigger than this, that was a Garrett T3, but either way, it's going. And the other thing I'm going to do is sat it in with the compressor wheel in there, so know where it sits, and I marked where the edge of the blades ended, and everywhere where I've drawn in black can be removed basically. So what I'm going to do is make that taper more gradual, so rather than tapering to there and then flat in, it's going to taper all the way from the edge of the black. So yeah, finally, although it don't matter too much, there's just because of the casting, you can feel a little lip there, so I'm just going to quickly take that off. Because it's going outwards here, all that matters really is the the next piece is as big or bigger, but that is slightly smaller, you can feel it, so I'm just going to fuck that off, take me a couple of minutes, and yeah, easy.
12 seconds later.
Right, it's done, and I can't deny I'm pretty pleased with the result. That wastegate especially is wildly better, but as you can probably see, if you remember the before pictures, that is way better flowing. I actually still haven't smoothed it out yet with some porting rolls and stuff. I've got to do that in a minute because I've done the compressor, or near enough, so I'll do this one in a minute. But yeah, turbine outlet wildly better, wastegate ridiculously better from inside and out, port match there, so yeah, all good on that side of things. For the compressor, I didn't film it because I kind of got bored, but as you can probably see now, it is basically bell mouthed from start to finish. Look at that. I mean, that lip, the inner lip is still there, but radiused a lot smoother than it was. The angle is now very smooth, and the outer lip is now non-existent, thankfully, because that lip there is big enough that I could, for all intents and purposes, knife edge it. So obviously I need to smooth this out a bit, but yeah, wildly different. Compressor outlet, all I did was take off the cast inlet, so nothing to really see. But this is very, very different. I mean, does your eBay TL4E look like that? No. Didn't take much work, but that is way better. So, yeah, I'll do a bit of smoothing now. I ain't gonna bother filming that because that's boring as fuck. But, yeah, there you go. Right, with the porting and smoothing and messing with the turbo done, let's go on to the exhaust manifold. I don't know if you can tell by the, yeah, there you go. That there is a marker pen outline of the gasket. So this is miles and miles smaller than it could be. If you remember, I said as long as the flow gets larger on its way through rather than, you know, a step smaller, it doesn't matter if it's a step larger. So in essence, this isn't a problem, it being like a big step larger, but in other ways it is, because it's quite a small hole for that gas to get out of, and more to the point, you can see the collector of the 4 cylinders in there, look, and obviously they all have to collide and then squeeze through this. You know, smaller to larger isn't always good, because if it's too small, because, you know, it's bad. I mean, they always talk about the short side radius as in the inner curve, and obviously if you're taking out this, it's much improved, because at the moment it's going along then up, whereas if I'm removing it further along, the radius is much better, so they can come out of the holes and out. Because that's the thing, where the biggest amount of you know, meat there is to cut away, look, is on the 4 corners, and that's the 4 corners where the exhaust gas is coming from. So yeah, you know, no matter what people say, I am in no doubt that not just overall flow, but just in general, you know, opening this up to true T3 size is really going to help. On the exhaust ports themselves, there's not a lot to be done. I'm going to probably, well, I will enlarge them to gasket size, just because, as I've said before, you know, bigger isn't a problem, but too small is. And if you can see the sooty lips, means exhaust gas has been hitting a flat surface. So if I can just take it out to that, that's fine. The other thing I'd like to do, and unfortunately it's no easy task because of the shape of the manifold, is smooth it inside, because fuck me, it's rough. I mean, like, rough as hell. You could use like abrasive flow machining, but they call it oh, what do they call it? They used to call it something else in tuning, because it's the name of the big American company that does it. But basically, abrasive flow machining is where they squeeze, like, under high pressure, like a rough putty through things, and it basically smooths it off on the inside. So they call it something hone. I can't remember, you lot I know straight away. But that's the American company, but the real term is abrasive flow machining, where they, you know, like I said, force putty at high pressure, like putty full of like bits of abrasive stuff, and it smooths it all out. Unfortunately, from my understanding, that's expensive as fuck, so yeah, it's not really worth it for this. Also, you can see this has been had a weld repair in the past, a fucking terrible one, where it's cracked. I'd rather just use one of the other manifolds, but this is the only one with the EGR port, which is useful for, you know, the anti-lag. So I think I will get Thomas to have a look at and maybe make this a lot less of a shit repair. You can't see any exhaust gas coming out of it, so it's not leaking, but that is fucking terrible. So I'm sure it could be made better. Right, better get cracking.
1 pair of pants later.
Didn't film any of this because, quite frankly, I didn't think it was interesting enough just to see the process. As well, you sit it on one part, you sit it on them all, but the result Oh, fucking hell, it's massive difference. I mean, I presume you remember what it was like before, but look at that. It's actually 4 round ports, as you can see. Totally unrestricted 4 ports. Really chuffed with that. Basically what that involved was obviously opening it up to slightly less than the gasket, you know, dimensions, because as I said, when things are going out, they should be going out and up to bigger, definitely not smaller, and definitely not hitting any flat surfaces. So to be on the safe side, ever so slightly smaller was better. I basically got rid of a lot of metal on the top of this short side radius as well. So basically the gas has a lot shorter route as best I could. It has made a massive difference. I mean, I think you can see yourself, it's 4 properly round ports all the way to the flange now, which is really fucking, really pleased with that. I mean, this honestly looks better flowing than a lot of good aftermarket manifolds now. I would have liked to smooth it all off in the pipes, because you could feel this, you know, I've smoothed where I could reach. Not, you know, it's not fucking glass, but it's perfectly fine. But you could feel, well, you could, I can't really anymore, further in where it's rough as hell, but I can't reach it with anything. I tried some flex hones, and unfortunately they just fucking, they might be flexible, but they just snapped off within a few seconds. And unfortunately, unlike America, where these kind of flexible bore hones are common as muck, here they don't seem to be common, and they're also pretty fucking expensive. So the fact that these lasted about 5 seconds, bit annoying. I also used the smallest flexible extension I could, which helped get in there a little bit, but still you're very limited by the length of the solid bit, and also obviously the diameter of the head. So it helped a tiny bit, but there was no way still of getting in there. And you know, even about there, no chance. You can get so far. So yeah, there's next to nothing, if nothing, I can do without doing that honing shit I was on about with the gunge, with the putty type stuff. And I remember now what they call it, extrude hone is what a lot of these places call it. But it's basically liquid abrasive honing, fluid abrasive honing, whatever the fuck it's called, is a real name. But extrude hone was the American company that's kind of got it into doing it to car manifolds years ago. But I know it's bloody expensive. Unless someone can tell me differently for the UK, I don't know. I've never had a UK price. It's not something I've really heard of people doing to cars in the UK. But it would do a proper job on stuff like the inside of these manifolds. But you know, I don't think it's worth it if it's expensive. But yeah, extrude hone is what they often call it. On the port side, again, made a big difference. I've again sort of reduced the short side, so it kind of goes, you know, the path of the exhaust gas is a lot more direct than it used to be. You know, I didn't want to go any more because I was getting a bit worried of getting too close to the you know, making the metal too thin. Port wise, it's a funny one, because again, because the gaskets, this just has to be bigger than the exhaust ports on the head. So it don't matter how big, it can be too big, it don't matter. So what I've done, because like I said, it's the flat surface thing which is the killer, you know, I've gasket matched it. But obviously the thing is with exhaust gaskets and shit like that is they are never dead on. There's always a bit of movement. So what I've done, I've matched it, gasket matched it at every extreme angle. So no matter what sort of wonky way it gets put on, there's never going to be a flat surface to hit. So these ports, while they look initially big, that's only for a very short distance. You know, it goes back down to normal size, and in my opinion anyway, the gases hitting a flat surface would fuck up the flow way more than a slightly bigger area, which obviously would, in theory, slow the gases down a bit, but they'll slow down a damn sight more if they hit a fucking flat surface. So I've done that to all of them. They look bigger than they are because they're shiny, but in reality they're not much bigger. But the fact is they flow a whole crap load better because I've got rid of a lot of the excess metal there. But again, I'd love to do more, but without some kind of flex hone that won't fall to pieces, which I haven't found so far with the ones I fucking used. Like literally all, you know, just fell apart. But ideally some bigger ones. If I could have some that's like, I don't know, 20-25mm diameter at least, you could stuff it up there and bzzz, and as long as it didn't fall apart, that's mint. I know that's a thing. I know I've seen people do it to cast manifolds and stuff, but fucking not the flex hones I use, that's for sure. So yeah, pretty chuffed with that manifold. And yeah, this is one last look at the ported eBay turbo. A much better inlet, proper bell mouth all the way in, smooth outlet, port matched inlet, and on the turbine side, nice, you know, gets big from the turbine wheel instantly rather than thin than a fucking step. Big old wastegate hole now, and unlike before, now the outlet part, the turbine elbow, has a very wide opening in comparison to how it was, wastegate flap, and the outlet is now 2.5 inch or more all the way from the turbine wheel rather than about 2 inch as it was. So yeah, overall pretty chuffed. And the thing is, yes, this is only a cheap shitty eBay turbo, but even if and when it breaks, it's not going to break the housings, so I can reuse the housings with a new core. And to be honest, I've already got a spare one because the car come to me with 2 of these turbos, both of them perfectly good condition, and I haven't broke one yet, even though I've been running like 25 odd psi at times. So yeah, it might be so yeah, pretty pleased with that. Now I've got to do the inlet manifold, which in all honesty I don't think there's that much I can do. It don't look too bad. I would like to smooth it, but realistically it's only the extrude honing that would really do much to it. No. And the head, which I can do a lot to, and it's going to take a while. Next thing on the porting is the inlet manifold and a throttle body. And this is a funny one because this inlet manifold is originally the Volvo 240 Turbo Group A Evo manifold. So as you can imagine, it's pretty good. And in all honesty, there is very, very little I can do. It needs a little taken off the edge of the throttle body inlet because it is slightly smaller than my throttle body. You can see there a mark, the dirty mark there where it's done that. So it needs a little taken off there on the the outlet ports, you can feel it's a bit rough there, and the casting has got a bit of like crap to remove, but it's fucking minor. But honestly, apart from that, it's quite smooth. There's no dodginess. I'm going to actually struggle to do anything else. This inlet's good, really is decent. I'm not going to enlarge this much because it's not that far off the gasket anyway, and like I've said already plenty of times, you want to go from small to larger, so there's no step it hits, you know, no brick wall it hits. It can go larger, yeah, but smaller is not good. So I don't want to enlarge this as much as I do the head ports, so I'm going to keep it round about this size anyway, because there's only a tiny bit until you're at gasket size anyway. So yeah. Throttle body, I don't know if you remember from earlier video, but I've already ported that. I bow mouthed the inlet. The throttle itself is a decent size. I mean, I've measured this, it's like 60mm or thereabouts. It's not a small throttle body. I even cut off the ends of the screws so nothing really sticks out. On this side, again, I enlarged it to gasket size, and that's why I need to enlarge this a bit because it overlaps slightly. This needs smoothing out a bit because I did it a bit fast, but it probably makes no difference. But apart from that, it's fucking done. So yeah, better go on with it, haven't I? That's way better already. But again, how much difference that makes, I'm not sure, but it's pretty grotty around the edge. That's that done, and in all honesty, without some of that abrasive flow machining to smooth off the inside, and even it as it is, it's pretty smooth. I don't know what else I'm going to do. Nothing, I don't think. It's fine. It's not like there's any big lumps anywhere, and the walls are too thin to take any real metal away anyway. I don't think there's any advantage of making that even thinner than it is. So no, it's done. I think I better smooth that out a bit better because it's a bit shit. Apart from that, yeah, that's a direct path. No overlap anymore, whereas it was a little bit before. And no matter, I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a little bit more off the top. Obviously, if you wiggle things around, you realise things can change a little bit. Tiny bit off this top corner. Yeah, no matter what angle now, that's fine. I don't really want to take any lumps. Oh, I don't know. There's casting lumps where the bolts go through, but I don't really. I don't know. Nah, that's not going to fucking make any difference, I don't think. I mean, you got the 2 cylinders there, 2 cylinders there. I've smoothed off this. Oh, I'll smooth that off. Yeah, I can't improve on that, really. I don't want to cut off those bumps and leave potential leaks, even if I do seal up the ends of the threads. This is all fine. I shouldn't really be surprised because it's a fucking Group A Evo manifold, so it should be good. But no, it's meant. That'll do them. Obviously it's a bit dusty now, but that's as polished and as smooth as it matters, and this is knife edged and as big as it can be without making the throttle body leak. On this side is ported up to the gasket face. On here it's enlarged to match that, even no matter what sort of wiggle you put on the throttle body, there's never any overlap. On the inside, it's as smooth as you gotta get it, really. So, you know, and on here, the only real problem I could see was the casting made rough, sort of scabby edges, and I've got rid of that. Even the sort of the seam from the mould doesn't stick out, not enough to worth grinding it off. So, job done. All that's left now is the head, and that's a lot more work. Couldn't resist, so I did a tiny bit more. I had to use a sanding wheel because obviously I can't get a die grinder into this corners, but I was talking about ridges, and then I realised the seam on the inside of the plenum there was more pronounced than up the runners, so I sanded it down on both sides and just generally gave it a polish to anywhere I could reach. Did the same on the ports as well, but literally you can only go in like a tiny bit, and it's pointless anyway, because apart from all the dust and shit from what I've just been doing, in there's pretty smooth anyway. Like I said, realistically I could only do more with, like, you know, that hone-in crap, and yeah, that's money. And like I said at the start of the video, it's all about the, well, like the guy at Faster Prom says, Jeremy, low-hanging fruit, as in the easy stuff. If it's going to take forever or cost a load of money, unless the gains are massive, it's not worth it. You do the easy gains, and that's what this is. I mean, to be honest, I've probably gone a bit too obsessive. I've done more. I reckon if, you know, I could have spent probably half the time and just done the major things, and it would have probably been 90%, 95% as good. But yeah, I got a bit obsessive, and to be honest, I realised I quite enjoyed it. So I just carried on. It still hasn't taken me long. Still only a few hours for everything you've seen so far. So yeah, happy days. Right, a supporting of the manifolds, the turbo and the throttle body done. And I'm pretty pleased with the results, to say the least. Hopefully the before and afters make it really obvious, but I can see the difference. Not so much on the inlet was that good, it didn't need much work. Throttle body I'd already done, but I did make quite a few changes. But the turbo and exhaust manifold especially, they're both perfectly good designs, but needed a lot of porting to get how they were needed. So yeah, pretty pleased with that. And now it's just the head, but that's going to wait for another day because I'm knackered. So yeah, that's enough for me, and I hope you like all this and you're learning something from it as well as being a bit entertained, and see you next time. Ta-ra.